15-minute. I'm currently involved in a head and shoulders pattern. This has been confirmed with a break above, close above our structure level, and I'm using a flag pattern as the entry, and I'm able to play for extended targets based on an AB equals CD pattern. So that sounds an awful lot to take in. So what I'm going to do is, as usual, delete the information off, and we're going to take it from the top, from the daily time frame. Okay. I'm working from the laptop and I do still have very limited internet out there, so from the daily time frame. So what I'm going to do is just put a structure level in just at this minor level of structure right here, and as you can see, price has actually come into that level. Now on the daily list this means absolutely nothing to me. This is just consolidation, but what I'm going to do is, as we do drop down the time frames, we'll be able to see that head and shoulders, the confirmation that we could be seeing a rotation in trend. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit here. Again, apologies if it's a little bit slow, guys. This is the internet. It's very, very slow. So you can see this internal level of structure that I'd highlighted before was actually a rotation pattern. It was actually a double bottom, and it's a recent structure. Now we do have this line of structure right here, and this is where I would anticipate price to come up to, is around this level. But if we also zoom in, there is a harmonic move just here. So we take it from our swing high to the swing low just here, and then we can go ahead here and duplicate this and move it down. And with harmonic moves or AB equals CD patterns, my targets are always the 382, and you can see that has just completed. So at this stage, I'm going to say, well, there's a high probability price is going to go up to the structure level, but also because of this harmonic move, we're very likely to go up to a 38.2 fib. And just look at the confluence. We have that structure level coming in at that 382. And for those of you that's been trading a while, and by now you guys should know that I absolutely love psychological numbers, because the grey areas where price is drawn to them, particularly every 100, and right here we have a very big psychological number, the 9,000 at that 382 fib and that structure level. So high probability, guys, of going up to this level. The question is, how can we get involved with a trade that's got a good risk to reward? So let's drop down the time frames, and as mentioned, we do have a rotation pattern here. We have a confirmed head and shoulders. So let's just zoom out a little bit again. We want to make sure that structure is held using this bottom trend line, and as you can see here, that structure level, when it updates, is still on that double bottom. And as we go to the right, and I'm going to zoom in a little, you should now be able to see that head and shoulders. And that head and shoulders starts from this swing point. Let me zoom in a little bit more. So we had a move lower. We saw a pullback before structure was tested. We had a move lower. We saw a move higher. And then we saw a move lower. And the head and shoulders looks like this, beautiful looking head and shoulders, and then right here we have an initial structure high. So this candle here physically closed above these structure levels, giving us what I call a confirmed head and shoulders, or a confirmed rotation pattern. I am then able to drop one time frame lower and look for an entry reason. So you could use trend continuation. There are many different ways in which you can get involved with the trade. What I've actually done here is used a flag pattern, and I'm just going to go ahead and highlight the wicks. And the wicks are usually where we see price rotate. For instance, if it's a double bottom, or it's a head and shoulders, or when it's a flag, those are the three main patterns that I use where we come into the wicks and we could see a rotation. Now it's a bit difficult to see the flag here, so I'm going to drop down one additional time frame all the way to the 5 minute. So we're really making use of all the time frames here. It's not very often I do drop down from the 60 to the 5, but when we have confirmation like this, then I will go ahead and do it because I know the power of these flag patterns. So with a flag, what we're looking for is a swing in the market. And as you can see, we've got one here. We had the market that went higher. And then if we draw out the trend line based on the closes of the candles, like so, and we're going to go ahead here and then duplicate this and move it down. We're looking for a minimum of 4 touches. 1, 2, 3, 4. However, I can only get involved when we come into structure. And just here, guys, you can see that this candle came into our predefined structure level, and we kind of double bottomed here. And at that point, we then broke out of the channel. And with this being a double bottom, you can now enter based on a 26.18 trade, which is basically just entering in at the 61.8 fib. Now I entered in, I front run by a couple of pips there just to make sure I get my fill. And also we're pretty close to 10 o'clock at night, and I wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to pay huge fees there. So if I just bring back on the orders, this is very simple now with the entry. I've actually gone a couple of ATRs below the turning point here. I actually only need to be 1 ATR below it because we've got confirmation we've broken out the channel. But I wanted to give it a bit of breathing room because 10 o'clock is coming up. In fact, I'm actually just going to give it a little bit more room just in case there's any weird spikes, and I'll move that back after. So a very nice entry here. It did mean that there was, I think it was 18 pips of risk. Let me double check that. I wanted to be down at 34, didn't I? 20 pips of risk. I'm pretty sure it's 18. I don't think I've got that in the right spot. And we're looking at that 38.2 fib all the way up there for 42 pips. So well over a 2-to-1 reward to risk here. But again, we've got a confirmed head and shoulders. We've got a flag pattern coming into previous structure that has now broken out of the channel. So there's the confirmation. And targets are based on the harmonic move, which is, as we know, previous structure and that psychological number where price is typically drawn towards it. So lovely opportunity here for a 2-to-1 reward to risk. Welcome back to part 2. Hope everybody can hear me okay. I'm having to ring you from the balcony of the cruise ship, I'm afraid, out in the Bahamas, and it's a little bit windy, so I hope there's not too much noise. Just want to talk through, I have mentioned that this year I've changed the way that I'm doing my trading. You'll actually get to see that in February, where I'm trading a percentage of my account. This account isn't, but in my other accounts I am. And I just want to show you how I'm actually going to maximize the winners and reduce the losses. And one way of doing that is by having 2 accounts. So I have one pot of money which I split between 2 accounts, and the total accounts I only trade 0.5% of it. However, one of the accounts is technically 1%, if you understand me. So let's just dumb this down a little bit. Let's say that we have a £10,000 account. I'm splitting it into 2 £5,000 accounts. Okay, even though I'm trading 0.5% of the 10,000, because I'm using one main account, I'm actually using 1% of that. And the second account, I will then enter with 1% or 0.5% of the full 10,000 when I have extra confirmation. So what I want to do is I want to use that account when I have extra confirmation on a trade. And very, very importantly, throughout the last year or so, I've showed many, many opportunities where we've had 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, even 8 times the risk to reward, where we have a very high probability trade. And so I'm using that second account not only for entering high probability trades, but for those trades that offer those great reward to risks. And that way then it doesn't affect the other account. Okay, so I hope that makes a little bit of sense. And what I've done here, I've had to do this under the demo. I'm going to swap over to the demo account shortly, but this head and shoulders has played out very nicely. We did get up to 25 pips up. So just here, and again guys, the internet is very slow here, was the breakout pattern, and as you can see, boom, we broke out. We got about 25 pips up. What then happened, guys? Well, This was a break above, close above our major structure level, which was our head and shoulders. What did we then do? Right here we had another move higher. So let's just draw this out. If this right here was an initial structure high and we broke up again, this was a new structure high, officially giving us a 3-point move, putting us in trend. So not only do we have the head and shoulders, we had the flag which played out beautifully, which was the entry. We have now not hit targets and entered trend. So down here, this is the entire outside return, and all we need here is a higher high, higher close. Boom, here it is. So what I've now done is I've had extra confirmation that this trade is going to go higher. So on this account, this is still 18 pips for 42, so well over a 2-to-1 reward to risk. And I'm just going to bring over the demo account. There we go. And this one now is just over a 1-to-1 risk to reward, so using the trend. And you know guys, for a long time now I speak about how I like to use multiple strategies. I don't just like using an AB equals CD pattern. I like using things like a double top or a double bottom with it, or a head and shoulders, or a confirmation of turning trend. Then I like to use a flag as an entry, and then once we've done all that and we've still not hit targets, boom, then we have a trend opportunity that's set up. So, you know, all these things tie in to increase the probability of the trade going on to win. And I did mention that I do now, or at least in February, going to be trading a percentage of my account. And just to put things into perspective, going back to this trade here, where we're really talking about maximising winners, this was a very high probability trade. This will offer me over a 2-to-1 if it hits. And if this demo account hits, this will offer me just over a 1-to-1. So if this does hit, then it will put me around 1.7% of my account up. And since I'm only trading 0.5% of my account at a time, that means that I would need over 3 losses in a row. And those of you that have been following me have known, have known that I've got off to a cracking start. I had 2 beautiful winners. I had a 3-to-1 flag, and then I had a low and tight flag, which was a 3.5-to-1. I did then have another winner, but it was another low and tight flag, a 2-to-1. But then I did have a loss as well, so that lost kind of a half. Both of those. I messed up on the videos on them because I'm doing it from the laptop, so I can't show you those, but off to a cracking start for January. And really guys, I am really now only going to take those very high probability trades. I'm actually surprised at how many I've had. The next video you'll see, fingers crossed, is that we've rallied up to that point and I've got a 1.7% return. So I just wanted to do an interim video here. If you don't know how to work flags, head and shoulders, use fibs or trend continuation, which is pretty much everything we've used, and psychological numbers within this setup, then all the educational material is there for you within the platform forex-education.co.uk. Go and check it out. Until then, I'll see you on the 3rd part of the video. Welcome back to the 3rd and final part of the video, and as you can see, for me personally, I've only just woken up. I'm 6 hours behind here, and the trade has now gone on to hit those projected targets. What a lovely trade, as mentioned, because it gave me additional confirmation. I was able to enter in on my second account. That gave me a return of about 1.7%, something like that. This is something I'm going to be talking a lot more about and showing you more as we go into February. This year for me, as I say, is going to be a change in my trading. There is a more profitable way for me to trade where I spend less time in the markets. And just a couple of things I want to talk on about really, and one of them is this actual trade, this head and shoulders. Now, in the second half of last year, I must have only taken 2 head and shoulders for the entire last 6 months, which is really unprecedented for me. And a lot of you know that I hit a very long and very deep drawdown. And the majority of that drawdown was caused literally by just being stopped out by a few pips as a result of unscheduled news events. And these are things that are out of your control. But the Head and Shoulders itself, this is a classic Head and Shoulders for me. What we saw then was a pullback, and what I'm just going to do is just I think my internet's a bit slow to do this, but I wanted to drop down to the lower time frame and show you that flag pattern and how that was a perfect execution. We literally just once we've broken out the channel, pull back for a 26.18, and for that moment on, we went on to hit targets. In fact, my internet is too slow to do it, so I can't change time frames. But then what we did is we entered trend, and let's just recap a couple of things that we went through. So first of all, we came into previous structure on the higher time frame. We had a 60-minute stroke 15-minute confirmed Head and Shoulders. We then had a initial structure high, which is a break above close above our Head and Shoulders. We then saw a pullback and used a flag pattern as the entry, but as additional confirmation, we double bottomed, we broke out the channel, pulled back for a 26.18, got our entry, then we put in a new structure high, officially putting us in trend. Then as we were in trend, we pulled back, we waited for a higher close. I then entered on my second account, and we then rallied on to hit those targets, which were actually targets based on previous structure, the 9,000 psychological number, trendline structure, and a 38.2 fib. Now, that may sound like an awful lot, but here's the thing. All this, how to work each of these different trades, these different setups, is all within the educational material. And what you do is you start your education off with one type of trade, say Head and Shoulders or an AB equals CD pattern, or learning how to read trend first of all, and then you just add to you add those different setups to your ability to learn them. And over time, you can then implement them within your trading. And all it simply does is it adds confluence and it increases your probability. And it allows you to take trades like this. Now, I said if this trade won, it would be a return of about 1.7%. And remember, guys, I initially only risked 0.5%. January has been very, very favorable to me. I think I'm on something like 6 or 7 wins. I have got 2 trades where I was unable to log them in the system because I messed the video up. One was a low and tight flag winner for about a 3-to-1 reward to risk, and then I did take a loss, which was another low and tight flag, so I can't update that in the system. But things have gone very, very well for me. So that's it really. What a beautiful trade. 18 pips for 42, and then whatever it was, 28 for 30 on the second account. Beautiful, beautiful winning trade.